right, folks. Welcome to the Sports Kings NFL Wildcard Weekend Prediction Show. I am your host, Me Gene Sports Machine, and I literally just ran my ass back to the table so I can get my water. Oh shit, we on. All right. Tonight's gonna be an interesting show because the Sports Kings, we're lost just like everyone else watching the National College Football semifinals, okay? Expected a big game. You know, Jacob, you ever just cooked a bunch of stuff and prepared for a feast and you get a wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, that's what this feels like too, because it's, as an Oregon fan, this is devastating. But as somebody who's bought into the Cignetti hype, this is pretty cool, but I did not expect this to be a one-sided beatdown. Oregon has not shown up. Dante Moore has been kicked around.
It's a crazy game. And we even thought about moving the show tonight because we wanted to watch the game, and a good thing we did. But anyway, my man from the Coaches Quarters podcast been with us for the last few years. We enjoy having him on. Jacob Meadows, man. What's up? What jersey are you wearing, Jacob?
It's my same Tank Dell jersey I wear every time. I've got a Richard Johnson and a Tank Dell.
Good.
Yeah, shout out Ray.
I should have known you was going to go all in H-Town on this show. We are without one of our members of the Royal Court. Dustin Pfeiffer is under the weather. Dustin, man, we wish you the best. We hope you get well. You sure he doesn't have an upset stomach from watching this Oregon-Indiana game?
No, I think he's got a hurt tum-tum from me winning the
is that what it is?
Yeah.
So you are the champion of the picks, right?
I am the champion of the picks. I'll wear the crown next week since Dustin.
Okay, wear the crown next week because we got to do this when Dustin is here, right? It's just not the same doing it without Dustin. All right, folks. The NFL playoffs begin with Wildcard Weekend. It's powered by Verizon. You hear that a lot over the coverage this weekend. So that's going to start tomorrow, January 10th. It will run through the 12th, which for the fifth consecutive year will conclude with that Monday night game. And look, me and Jacob here are, we're going to really – I think the show was set up for just me and you because we got this Pittsburgh Steelers – Houston Texans wild card Monday night game. I'm not going to say anything to you Monday night, man. It's going to be complete silence.
That's how it's going to be in my household too. There's an unspoken curse on Houston for primetime games. So especially on Mondays, the track record is not great historically. So
yeah, but as soon as you put those things up, man, crazy stuff happens, right? It's almost like, well, you know what? He's never missed a field goal. He misses a field goal, right? So I'm not even going to say what the Pittsburgh Steelers Monday Night Football record is. But look, we're going to talk about all 6 wild card games that are scheduled for this weekend. Look, we have brought you through 18 weeks of NFL. We'll probably look at our picks next week. I don't know what the final records are. Dustin, we'll have fun with that next week. And next week, I think we're either going to have AJ from ESPN or Brian from CBS Sports. But look, we got the division rounds. Things get really, 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 really serious as each week goes by. But it's the wild card weekend. How about this, Jacob? 6 teams, right? Carolina, Chicago, Jacksonville, New England, San Francisco, and Seattle qualify for the postseason after missing the playoffs altogether last year.
It's beautiful. The script writers drew up a masterpiece this year, right? This is an exciting year because you have so many coaches. The Coach of the Year award, one of the most exciting awards this year because of the ascension for all these coaches into playoff relevancy and for bringing these programs out from most of them from the grave and actually making them relevant, making them, well oiled because they look good. They look good midway through the season. They look good all the way through the season. And now starting the playoffs, you have teams that are honestly the Patriots are getting healthier, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have teams that are truly doing well at this point in the season.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
It is incredible. And then take it a step farther, Carolina, Chicago, and New England, they won their division titles after finishing either last or tied for last in their divisions last year. So that's even more impressive, man, when you get teams that just kind of snuck it up, went from worst to first.
It's nuts. I mean, think all of us on the show, we all picked the Bears to be in the basement at the beginning of the season. None of us thought the Bears were going to be playoff ready, let alone win their division and hold the second seed. So you have them. That admittedly, Dustin did believe in Carolina. I thought they were your away.
Yeah,
Carolina's crept in as the division leader there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's awesome seeing the worst of first is cool. The parity is nice, right? Like it has been neat having a season where you don't have this monolith, the Kansas City Chiefs, where they're going to beat whomever they play, right? Like there is not a team that is just the clear cut. This is the best team in the country. Bang, 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 bang. It's not. We don't have it. It's fantastic,
and it's up for grabs. Look, we talked about early in the year. We said, imagine the playoffs without the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Bills. Well, 2 of the 3, right? I guess we should have replaced the Bills with the Lions, right? Because I wasn't thinking about Detroit, right? So, I mean, this is crazy. So it gets interesting because, look, we have made our picks all the way through Super Bowl 60, right? So we're going to tell you, well, not on this show. We're going to wait to Dustin and we have our guest next week. We're going to get through this wild card weekend, right? And look here, I got to go to the comments here because it looks like, okay, well, Bobby is on. I didn't expect to see Bobby because I know Bobby's watching that national semifinals game, but Bobby's with us tonight. So let's go ahead and get him in there. What's up, Bobby? And
What's up, Bobby?
All right. So check this out. So we will reveal all of that next week as far as who we got going all the way to the Super Bowl. But at least tonight you'll hear from Dustin. Did send us his picks. We got our picks going into Wildcard weekend. But how about this, Jacob? 7 of this season's 14 playoff teams have won at least one Super Bowl since 2000. So we're going back 26 years, right? That's pretty cool. So that's it kind of makes the playoffs even more interesting. New England is one of them, right?
Yeah. I can take a shot in the dark and take that one. Yeah.
You got the Eagles also, right? You got the Pittsburgh Steelers. You got the Broncos. You got the Packers, Seahawks, and Rams. So those are your 7 teams that have won a Super Bowl since 2000. And those teams are currently 7 of the 14 playoff teams have won that Super Bowl. So, may not have the same coaches, right, that they had. Well, Pittsburgh does at least. And but hey, speaking of coaches, look, before we get into these picks, man, we have to talk about NFL Black Monday. We've been sort of like letting the listeners know that what was happening, what was coming up, that it was going to happen. It happens every year. The first Monday after the regular season ends, you get what you call Black Monday, where coaches get their asses fired. And some were fired before, Some had Black Mondays early in the year, right? Like week 4, week 5 Black Mondays. That ain't good. But for the most part, let's just talk about these real quick, Jacob, because I tell you what, there was one coach that we had called for his name, I think probably week 5, week 6, right? And that was Mike McDaniel, who was fired on January 8th. So the Dolphins just said, hey, look here, we're going to move the owner, Stephen Ross. He met with Daniels on that Tuesday, and this wasn't even Black Monday, but it was Black Tuesday for him to discuss the season. And then after that meeting and the reflection, they decided to move on. What is that like, Jacob, when you meet with your owner and he's deciding your fate? Because it looked like they made the announcement to bench Tua Valoa. And we're like, whoa, Mike McDaniel was looking mighty cocky on the sidelines, like he had some new life. But come Tuesday morning, boom.
So that had to be, I heard about the meeting. That had to be the worst dinner meeting or whatever it was for a coach in the history of coaching, right? Because the day prior, they had announced that he was going to have a seat at the table to help select the next GM and point the franchise in a new direction. And then he goes and he meets with Stephen Ross and they axe him. So McDaniel, whatever he did, like he tanked that meeting and found himself on the wrong side of the blade. I do think he'll be a strong pickup for wherever he goes, right? Like he
As
is
an
he is a good
OC.
offensive
Right. As the X's and O's guys, yeah. He'll be picked up. But let me tell you a little bit about, you mentioned, that he was planning to be part of finding the GM and all of that stuff. So look, Stephen Ross probably just came to the realization that, look, GMs, man, no GM likes to go into a situation where I'm stuck with this coach because he sort of hired me. We've seen that happen before in the NFL. Like, okay, you can't fire that coach. You're the GM, but you don't have the power that you think you have. So maybe Ross just decided, like, look, it's only fair to a GM that he has that right to pick his next head coach.
Sure. I do think that some of it is I think the Harbaugh chatter made its way to Miami, right? I think there was mutual interest between Miami and John Harbaugh, sorry, newly released coach from the Baltimore Ravens. I ultimately think, probably some tampering, which I don't know if there actually is with coaches like that.
Hopefully not.
Yeah. I think there was some background noise there. I think the Harbaugh to Miami interest is real. I think the hype is real. Sorry, Bobby. No, I don't think Harbaugh's next for the Raiders. But,
hey, you can't blame him. Hey, what Tom Brady might have, we'll talk about that in a minute. Tom Brady might have a say so on that. But that Harbaugh thing, you're right, Jacob. It's kind of interesting. Let's talk about John Harbaugh real quick, because look, that might have been the shocker of the day. Dustin always keeps us up to date on what's happening around the NFL through his contact with the NFL. So look, John Harbaugh was fired. Okay, just crazy. 18 seasons. He just signed a 3-year extension last year. Was under a new contract. He was under that contract through at least the 2028 season. But man, they fired John Harbaugh, and Jacob, I don't know why we're hearing a lot of things. No, he was not fired because Tyler Luke missed the field goal. Okay, you don't get fired because a rookie kicker misses the field goal. But it shocked me. And then the more I thought about it, Jacob, I thought about somehow, just look over the last few years, like some of the playoff games where they sort of mishandled Derrick Henry. You remember one playoff game, I don't know, it was against Kansas City, where you got a big heavy dose of Derrick Henry in the first half and he disappeared in the second half. We've seen that this season alone. So I just think it came down to how he has managed the team over the last couple of seasons.
I'm curious to see what ends up coming out of all of this once the dust is settled, right? Because I've seen 2 rumors that were both feasible and kind of like, I could see that, right? Like they're good rumors, and that's one of them. Harbaugh was starting to lose the locker room, kind of like what you're talking about, where he's not utilizing Derrick Henry the right way. And, it seems like, maybe there were some people in the building that didn't really like the way he was handling these situations, and he just kind of wore out his welcome. And then the other rumor is that John Harbaugh would not let go of Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator, for essentially the same thing, right? Like he brought Monken in and refused to give up on Monken when the offense stalled, which I think injuries were a bigger problem this year than the offense not being effective. But, that's neither here nor there now. But it's John Harbaugh refused to take a step away from Monken, who apparently his relationship with Lamar had soured. And that was essentially Harbaugh picking Todd Monken over Lamar Jackson. And one of the 2 things got him booted out after losing to Pittsburgh. So, it opens the door for an incredible hire, right? Like, you can bring anybody in, and the Baltimore job is going to be a good job to have.
It's going to be a good job to have, but man, organizations take a step backwards. It's rare that coaches come in and have immediate success, like a Ben Johnson. But it depends on what type of personnel you're left with. So that might also, I think the Atlanta Falcons situation is going to be good for a new coach coming in. He's left, when you're left with good quality players. So we'll see how that goes. I'm trying not to look to the right to see what's happening with this game. I just want to see if it's going to get any uglier than it already is.
Indiana, so good. Bobby, question for you, Bobby. I hate to ask it. So not Oregon. The Raiders have had scouts at every game for Oregon this year. They really like Dante Moore. I'd throw it up in the chat if you're watching this, because I'd love to know your thoughts on taking Dante Moore over Fernando Mendoza at this point after everything you've seen. So
I'm thinking it'll come down to the national championship game to see. I still like, Trinidad. What's his name?
Chambliss. Chambliss.
Yeah, I mean, I just think there's some good quarterbacks here. There will be some good quarterbacks going into 2027. So, all right. How about let's talk about Arizona Cardinals. They decided to part ways with Jonathan Gannon after 3 seasons. 3-14 finished this year, 15-36 in his 3 seasons as the team's coach. Never reached the playoffs, never finished higher than 3rd in that NFC West. So the GM, Monty Austinford, is going to go ahead and look for a new coach there. We didn't talk about that because Arizona is just a funny team, funny organization.
They could do something really funny and bring back Cliff Kingsbury, who brought in Kyler originally, and let him do his thing. I don't know. Arizona's a weird one, right? Like it is. Like there are underrated gym players on their roster every year that nobody, like, they're not household names. They're not these like big guys, and they come out and they're incredible. Like a Buda Baker, right? Yeah. Star player, just kind of came onto the scene out of nowhere for Arizona. Michael Wilson, another good one. And it's like nobody that coaches there can pull it all together. That's just kind of how it feels, no matter who they have at head coach. Like they cannot get the glue in all the seams. They cannot hold that team together in an effective way. And they end up sucking every year. But I think that Arizona team's a little more talented than their record's been the last 4 or 5 seasons. So,
and I'm shocked that the GM kept his job as well, too. I mean, because
you're not kidding.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and I watch these coaching and GM firings, and I'm wondering, like, whoa, what's going on? Look, we should have like a boatload of new people coming to watch our show, because I'll talk about tonight, because Indiana just scored again. Okay,
yeah,
it's 42-7. At least I would expect some Oregon Duck fans to watch the show right now. I mean, come on, we welcome you. If you just want to talk NFL right now, I can understand you don't want to be bothered with college football, because literally tonight your season is going to be over. If you're a Ducks fan, hell, if you're a Hoosier fan, come on, you already know your team is riding high. And we'll kind of talk about this at the end of the show, what looks like is going to be an Indiana Miami national championship game. So we'll talk about that. Look, how about we talk about Bobby's Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders, Pete Carroll. That era with the Raiders is over after just 1 year. They fired the 74-year-old on Monday after his team also went 3-14, which ended with a 14-12 win over the Chiefs, But before that game, Jacob, they had lost 10 straight. So the Raiders once again are done.
Yeah. What a disappointing season. You bring Pete Carroll in, you bring Geno Smith in, like there's real hype around the team. You've got a young core of receivers that make sense. They brought Amari Cooper back for a limited time, right? He never played a snap, but Amari Cooper came back. Ashton Genie entered the lineup. They still had the good defense. Patrick Graham was still their D coordinator. Like, there were so many things going on for the Raiders that inspired confidence, right? Like you could feel in positive ways for the Las Vegas Raiders. Maybe they're trending on the upward path. Maybe they're going to be better than they've been. And then Doom called, and God bless, was it a hard year for the Raiders and the Raiders fans. And I feel bad for Pete sustain on his legacy. Like, I really do hope that he took that job as like a favor. Right.
It was a questionable hire to begin with,
Yeah.
But they just thought that he could come in, he could bring some of his friends that he thought he could trust. He could bring Geno. It didn't help that Geno had a horrible, horrible year. Look, you can't even blame it on the personnel. Geno was the reason for a lot of what happened with the Raiders.
Bad, then he was hurt. They fired their
Yeah.
offensive coordinator like 5 weeks into the season. The chipster was gone. So, this was a bad season for the Las Vegas Raiders.
A real bad season. So, all right, the Cleveland Browns decided they fired Kevin Stefanski after 6 seasons, right? And, they finished 5-12 en route to another last place finish there in the AFC North. And they also announced that Andrew Berry, who had arrived in Cleveland with Stefanski, will remain in his position as GM. And this is what just stuns the hell out of me. Like, you both were there the same amount of time. You both made these crazy personnel decisions. How the hell does a GM keep his job? And it's unreal.
You have enough money, you have enough influence, right? That's got to be it. Because, I don't like the Stefanski firing. I do agree with it. After the way they handled the Shadur Sanders debacle, fire the guy. I do think he's the second best coach on the free agent market right now. And I do have a pretty good feeling that he is the next head coach of the New York Giants. But, man, oh, man. How does Andrew Berry keep his job? Why? Because Myles Garrett broke the sack record? Is that what we're hanging our hat on? That was the bar? Because the Browns suck, right? Andrew Berry, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he was there during the facilitation of the Deshaun Watson trade.
Yeah, responsible for that big payroll. There's no return on that investment whatsoever. So we should see. And then we got one last one, which we kind of knew. This actually, we talked about this on our last show. And the Atlanta Falcons decided to fire General Manager Terry Fontenot, and they fired Raheem Morris, their coach. Now, I had said, Jacob, that I didn't agree with this firing in the sense that Atlanta had won 4 in a row, and it just looked like. And look, they finished the season tied for first, even though. They lose in a tiebreaker, but man, just imagine, one more win and they would have been outright division champs, right? So I didn't agree with that firing as much.
It's not that I didn't agree with it. Dustin and I had called that one coming for weeks prior, and it's not that I agree with him being fired. It's that he has underperformed for too long. Right. Atlanta's roster should have won more games than they did. They should have won the division this year. They should have had probably 10 wins under their belt. They choked in some awful games that they had no business losing. And that's ultimately what I think got Raheem Morris fired, because this is not the first year where they've had legitimate games that they should have won. Talent over talent wise, Atlanta was the better team. And it happens again this year, and Raheem's out. I do think that he'll be a good coach somewhere else. I think that he was doing some good stuff in Atlanta. I'd also be curious to know what hand he had in the Penix ordeal, or if that was all the GM.
Yeah, that ultimately did them both in, right? Or definitely the GM. And the GM did get fired in this situation, which now makes things even tougher for Arthur Blank. Now, he has already laid the groundwork for a Matt Ryan, president of football operations position,
which is cool.
Yeah, which is cool. So there's a lot of layers, though. You look at the Dallas Cowboys, is Jerry Jones making all of the decisions? Well, Arthur Blank for the Atlanta Falcons has decided that he's going to have a CEO. Now, I don't know if that's going to be him or not, but let's just say he's the owner. He's going to have a CEO. You got the owner, you got the CEO. He's going to bring Matt Ryan in as president of football operations. You got to hire a GM and a coach. That's a lot of layers.
It's a lot of moving parts. Yeah.
So I don't know. And he's kind of looking at it from a quality control standpoint where, okay, let's just really make sure we got more eyes on this than just mine and the GM and the head coach. And Matt Ryan, I know that's a good hire. That's going to be a good hire. And Matt Ryan is Matt Ryan got them closer to a Super Bowl victory than any quarterback in Falcons history, right?
Yep.
And I've watched the Falcons for a long time. So that is a position well earned. I'm okay with that. So, and they are left with some great personnel, Jacob. They got some good people on that team. So,
Yeah.
Falcons will surge again.
You know who I'd like to see get that job if he's even taking interviews or if he's interested in taking interviews. I think the 49ers offensive coordinator would make a good head coach in Atlanta. Let him run the offense and he could bring in a strong DC, which Jeff Ulbricht's still there, if I'm not mistaken. They didn't can Jeff Ulbricht, right? Yeah.
No.
So there's a
no.
DC on the payroll already. He's pretty good. I mean, you can go out, you could change him out or whatever, but you let that OC take over the offense in Atlanta, where you have Captain Kirk or Michael Penix one day or
whoever.
Yeah,
he's taking a pay cut, so that's gonna help the organization. So, Jacob, just to round this out, Daboll from the Giants he was fired back in November, and of course, Brian Callahan for the Titans, he was fired in early October. So that kind of rounds up the coaches. So I believe 8 jobs open right now in the NFL, which is a lot.
Stacked.
That's a good 20-30% of the NFL has job openings. So that's pretty interesting. All right, so look, we've been yapping for about 26 minutes, and looks like the Ducks are trying to fight back there. They're not getting slapped around. They're fighting back. They're putting up some defenses. So we'll see what happens here. This is going to be a high-scoring game, but this don't look like the Ducks team from back in the day where they could put up 40 or 50. But we shall see. All right, we are going to get into our picks. And this is for we got 6 games. This is Wildcard weekend, okay, for the NFL. So games, you got 2 Saturday games, you got 3 Sunday games, and you got a Monday night game. So I do like how the NFL spread this out since they went to this Wildcard format. So look, I really wish Dustin was here to talk about this one here because, man, this one right here, Jacob. Look, these 2 teams played each other early in the year, and Carolina beat the Rams. And I just said, man, I had said to myself then, oh, boy, I hope they don't meet in the playoffs. And look, here they are meeting in the wild card round now. And it's funny. So you got the Rams and Chargers both in the playoffs, and nobody's playing it so far. That's weird, huh? Neither one of those teams get a home game, right?
All that money on that stadium.
All that money on that stadium and no playoff game there. I think the only way they could get a home game is if they get to the AFC or in NFC Championship, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, that's going to be pretty interesting. But look, Rams, they are the number 5 seed on the road against the NFC South Division champs, Carolina Panthers. They got that win. Even though they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the final week of the season, they still get the win thanks to the Atlanta Falcons. Dustin was rooting for those Falcons, wasn't he?
Oh, man, he sure was. He was the biggest Falcon fan on the planet there for a couple of days.
I know. So this is going to be a good matchup here. I don't know. Let's go ahead and go ahead and take your pick on this one. Who's going to win this one? This wildcard, the first wildcard game. This game is Saturday. It's going to be on Fox, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time.
So the Panthers lost to Tampa Bay, official score. The Panthers got absolutely hosed by the officials in that game. It was terrible officiating. Carolina beat the Buccaneers. It was a sweep, right? It was a true sweep, not record-wise, but Carolina swept Tampa. They did beat the Rams earlier in the season. Their defense is moderately healthy. Their offense has looked pretty good as of late, especially with their 2-headed monster at running back. I think that this was the worst card Carolina could have pulled. I think that it is unfortunate that this is who Carolina has to face in the first round of the playoffs, because I think the Los Angeles Rams win this game. The Panthers are a great story, and I think next year they'll be, quite the team to beat. But this year, the Rams are still, in my opinion, the best team in the NFC. Matt Stafford is still my MVP as of yet.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. The defense in LA is so good, and props out to Carolina. Their defense has been phenomenal as well. But the Rams are a different animal. And I do think that, it was a close game earlier in the season. I like the Rams in this one. They came out, they were pissed off when they played the Cardinals in the last week of the year, because they ended up losing the game prior to that. And Sean McVay was angry, played like it, right? Called plays like it. They win 37-20 over Arizona. And the Rams are going to be, they're hot, right? They're the angry team, the angrier team, I would say. And the Rams are going to want it more. I think the Rams move forward. And on Dustin's end as well. Dustin also, and his did say, unfortunately.
I know it had to be a tough pick for him.
Yeah, Rams over the Panthers, unfortunately, on Dustin's end as well.
Yeah, I got the Rams too. Look, they started out slow. When I say slow, we go back to the preseason. We didn't even know if Matthew Stafford was healthy enough to start the season, right? And all of a sudden, this guy just starts coming out and just lighting up defenses, man. And 37-20 last week over Arizona, which look, they're going to win. You've already beat them. They're not going to go back to the same place and get beat twice. I got the Rams winning and advancing to the divisional rounds. All right, the next game we have, this is another Saturday night game. This one will be on Prime. I do believe, I think it's going to be on Prime if I'm not mistaken. So this one will take place 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's the number 7 seed Green Bay Packers at the number 2 Chicago Bears. Look, man, Jacob, Green Bay gave you fits all year long in your picks. And they're just an unpredictable team there. But, man, look, both cold weather teams here, so there's no advantage there. But this game, man, the weather is going to be the factor in this game. They're predicting 25 to 35, 35 to 45 mile per hour wind. There might be some sleet and snow. I know the Pittsburgh Houston game was projected to be the lowest scoring game for the weekend, but now I think with this new weather forecast there, Uncle G likes the Rams in our chat session there. He likes the Bears in this game. And I tell you what, I like the Bears in this game. I don't know. It's probably going to be a hell of a run game, which, the Bears run. Look, Swift has been clowning the last couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a run game. I don't see a lot of passes. You're not making any damn field goals. You probably won't even make any extra points, depending on where you kicking that. Now, the Bears, if you ever been to Soldier Field, because they remodeled Soldier Field. I was there for a graduation, high school graduation, the last time I was there, believe it or not a football game. But it is a remodeled stadium, and I think there's an open end to that stadium. So you're not kicking any field goals or extra points if it's blowing 35 miles an hour. So I'm gonna take the Bears.
Interesting. Well, Uncle G 7676. That's a unanimous decision, by the way. Both Dustin and I are also taking the Bears. And aside from the run game, which RB1 and 2 I would give to Chicago, they also have the best 1-2 punch at tight end in the playoffs.
Good Lord,
do they? Your checkdowns, the Bears have it, Cole Kmet and Loveland. They're very, very, very good at football. I have the Bears winning this one as well. So does Dustin. It's going to be the Bears all the way over Green Bay. Good
Lord. We're unanimous here through our first 2 wildcard weekend picks here. All right. Gets interesting here, man, because I tell you what, both of these teams here, look, Buffalo realized early on that, okay, New England is probably not playing, especially when they beat them, the first time. But they did not win the AFC East, but they are still in the playoffs. And Josh Allen and James Cook, they have been playing some seriously good football. This is a great matchup here because I think whoever wins this game could go pretty far in the playoffs. Look at what Liam Cohen has done. He's come in there and resurrected Trevor Lawrence's career, something that the Urban Meyer couldn't do, something that Doug Peterson couldn't do, and he's a quarterback coach, and won the Super Bowl with the Eagles. It took Liam Cohen to come in there and get this done, and the Buccaneers know how much Liam Cohen means, right? So,
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. So this one right here, I'm gonna let you go ahead and take a stab at this one. Uncle G, I'd like to see what you think about this. And he's kind of pumped. Yeah. And Barbie, I'd like to know what Barbie thinks about this. I don't know. Who did Dustin pick?
So Dustin's got the Bills. Dustin has the Bills winning this one and moving forward in the playoffs. However, this is my redemption for Jags fans throughout the season where I've trashed y'all pretty much mercilessly since the get-go. I think Jacksonville wins this game. I think this game being at home is big enough for
I think that you're picking an AFC South rival.
Yeah, I have the Jags beating the Bills. The Jags defense is better. I think the Jags offense is clicking with Brian Thomas Jr. better. Etienne's a stud. They're
yeah, you're right.
Rookie second string running back, the kid out of Virginia Tech has played out of his mind.
Yes.
You've Britton Strange at tight end. There's too much, and then Jacoby Myers, what a godsend, right? He's the best player on that offense.
What a godsend.
I like the Jaguars to win this game over the Bills.
You know what I want to say, and me and Dustin, we talked about this for years, man, the window of opportunity. So you think there's no Ravens in the way, there's no Kansas City Chiefs in the way, and these two teams have historically gotten in the way of the Buffalo Bills. I don't want to say, it looks like Christmas extended in January when you know that, okay, you beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, you don't have to play Kansas City next. You don't have to play Lamar Jackson next. You got a pretty good run. You got the Patriots, which I think, look, the Patriots don't want to see Buffalo again in the playoffs.
No.
I can guarantee that if Buffalo advances. So I think that's going to happen. I think we're setting up for. I think Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills are going to take advantage of this unique opportunity to advance in this playoffs without Lamar Jackson and without Patrick Mahomes. Man, you have to. And I know the success that the Jaguars are having. I'm not going to undermine that at all, but Buffalo has to get this. I think the window would be officially closed. And I think we could see another coach firing if Jacksonville beats Buffalo.
That's what I was about to say. I think we could see the end of the Sean McDermott era.
Yeah, I really do.
If they lose to Jacksonville, it's the Raheem Morris deal, right? Like,
you
want to perform so many years in a row. Like, if you can't get it done in the postseason, you're out of here, buddy.
Right, and maybe this is what they want. Maybe this is the way they want to get to the Super Bowl by not being the AFC champs. I mean, the AFC East champs, and do it the hard way. They're on the road, right? In the first round of a wild card. So anyway, I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills.
Okay.
All right. We have this particular matchup. Oh, my goodness. They look here, man. The 49ers, wow. Unbelievable season. They lose, to Seattle in Week 18. That concerns me in a sense because they could be the number one seed, and they didn't look like a number one seed in that game against Seattle. I don't know if it didn't matter to them. I gotta think it matters when you know that had you won that game, you didn't have to leave the stadium because the Super Bowl is going to be held in Santa Clara. So I don't know. That worried me a little bit. I'm taking the Eagles. I think people Eagles fans, they are the toughest fans in the NFL. And I think a lot of non-Eagles fans, they thrive off their fans. So it's like, well, why should we pick this team? Hell, their own fans don't like them, So don't be fooled by the Eagles, man. Do not be fooled by this team. I think the Eagles win at home. I don't think the 49ers are going to go across country and beat this team, especially when they didn't handle business in a week to where they wouldn't even have to be making this trip had they put up more than 3 points against Seattle in Week 18.
That makes sense. I don't know. This was a hard one for me. Arguably the hardest game of the lineup for me. Because I have bought into the Eagles, right? Like, I don't think they're as good as I think their offensive coordinator should have been fired already. I do not, you can't because you're going into playoffs and whatnot. But I don't think the Eagles have what it takes. I'm taking San Francisco to win this game. I think that San Francisco's got the better team. I think they were banged up last week, and they're going to come out and they're going to play a much different game against a team that's not anywhere near as good. They did play Seattle, who ended up winning the first seed in the NFC. Seattle's got a team, and they're consistently better on offense and defense than Philly has been. So I'm gonna take San Francisco to topple Philadelphia despite dropping the ball and losing to Seattle, losing that number 1 seed. Dustin also, however, took the Eagles to win this game.
Okay. All right. Now, are you keeping up with our picks? Because Dustin is going to be all over you if you're not keeping up with these picks.
Oh, I'm keeping up with them.
All right. So you got me, Gene, and Dustin going with the Eagles. You got Jacob as the Lone Ranger here, going with those 49ers to go cross country there. And this is a Sunday game here. This game is actually let me give you the times on this. So this is a Fox game on Sunday, 4:30 Eastern. The Buffalo-Jacksonville game, I forgot to mention, that's on CBS and Paramount. Okay, so, and it brings us to the Sunday night game, which is going to be on NBC and Peacock and Telemundo, Universal. So this is, tell you what, man, this is a great matchup.
Yes.
Great matchup. The Chargers, 7th seed, they going all the way to Foxborough, Gillette Stadium to take on the Patriots. And wow, Ron Tolbert is the referee. Interesting. Okay. He's the nice guy, right? If you're the home team, Ron Tolbert tends to just really likes you and he just wants to get out of your stadium alive. He doesn't want any of your fans pounding him. So he's more likely to make those calls that's going to favor that home team. In this particular case, in this wildcard game, it's the New England Patriots. Look, Justin Herbert, I think there's some sort of a lingering injury going on with him. The Chargers have really bounced back considering how they started. And they really, they found themselves in a good position. 7th seed is not bad. They're in the playoffs. But Jacob, I'm going to call this one. And I see Uncle G he's like, hey, can the Chargers play ball in cold weather? I didn't even really think about that. I'm going to take the Patriots. Mike Vrabel has went in there and just did some things. I'm not going to say New England is all the way back because I do want to see that New England Buffalo Bills part 3. So I got to take the Patriots in this one.
So I was also excited to address Uncle G's comment here because, probably not, right? Like we don't know all that well. The Chargers are notorious for being eliminated prior to playoffs, but it's one of those things where cold weather teams are built different. They've made a big deal about that, since like before the Jack Lambert Steelers, like all the way back to the Vince Lombardi days. Like the cold weather teams are built different. A cold weather team can survive in the cold weather, but also in the heat because it's just warmer, right? Mm-hmm. A warm weather team tends to struggle more in the cold weather. So I've got Dustin here is also taking the Patriots. I am taking the Patriots as well, and I won't divulge all of my like deep run teams and what have you, but I actually have the Patriots advancing to the Super Bowl on my bracket.
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, that's an AFC shocker, right? Because Davis Mills deserved the MVP, and I'm a big Houston Texans fan, but that thinking rings true more often than not. Whereas a warm weather team cannot travel to a cold weather team and win.
Yeah, we see that. We see that
easily. Yeah, and I think the Patriots have the better team, right? Drake May's playing out of his mind. He's number 2 for the MVP. Stable of running backs that are good. The wide receivers that have played way out of the realm of what most people thought they would. The Patriots are good. Vrabes is a very good head coach. Tennessee very obviously screwed up with him, but yeah, no, we're all unanimous here. Patriots across the board.
Okay. All right. So now that brings us that will round out the Sunday games, 3 Sunday games for NFL Wildcard weekend. And it brings us to our final game here. The Houston Texans, they finished the season they're 12-5, the 5th seed. They're taking on the 10-7 Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers get in by just simply defeating the Baltimore Ravens 26-24. What a hell of a game.
Yeah.
Jacob, you know what? That game, I tell you what, it was crazy because if you think about it, Jim Harbaugh gets fired, right? A couple of days after losing that game. I think the same probably could have happened to Mike Tomlin had he lost that game, although maybe Tomlin and the Steelers would have agreed like a Cliff Kingsbury type thing. Okay, we're going to just agree to part ways because the Steelers just don't fire coaches. They just don't really fire you. No one that's a Steeler fan was living when they fired a coach, the last coach. I mean, somebody could be living because this was like way early before Chuck Noll. Noll was never fired. He walked away. Bill Cowher walked away. And I like to think that Mike Tomlin is probably going to do the same. But in light of, what happened to Jim Harbaugh, this game right here, Pittsburgh loses, we could see the end of another era with Mike Tomlin, walking away, or the Steelers and Tomlin agreeing to fall apart. So the Texans look. This game, I think the over/under is thank you, Uncle G. What 42-15, the score there. Indiana, Oregon semifinal game. What is it? Is that the Peach Bowl? I think they're playing that or something like that. But anyway,
Peach Bowl.
Here's the deal. Outstanding defenses. I think the over-under is 39. Now,
38.5.
Is 38.5? Oh, it's dropping, right? You and I both know that the Houston Texans play in a cushy 78-degree indoor arena, right? Okay.
Yes.
It's not going to be 78 degrees in Pittsburgh on Monday night.
No.
It's not, but these defenses are so darn good. Aaron Rodgers had a pretty good game. They do get Metcalf back, but man, I roll with the Steelers, right? You see in the back here, I got a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers stuff here. I've been a fan for a long time, but I'm not feeling comfortable with this game because I also know that window of opportunity for the Texans is getting, stronger. And I know that defense is a killer. Aaron Rodgers, to be a 42-year-old quarterback going against this young defense is not going to be easy. And I think it could come down to a Boswell or it could come down to a Fairbairn field goal to win the game. I really think it's going to be a close game. But I'm sorry, I have to pick against my Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think the Houston Texans are going to win, and I think it's going to be the end of the Mike Tomlin era. I really do.
I think that assessment is correct. I do think that if Pittsburgh loses this game, Tomlin will be out in one fashion or another. I do agree with how you think the game is going to go. I don't think that the Pittsburgh Steelers win this. And, I did just get on my high horse and say that warm weather teams don't travel to cold weather teams and win very easily. But it's one of those things where if it really comes down to it, right, if it's Boswell versus Fairbairn, Fairbairn's a better kicker. At the end of the day, Fairbairn's a better kicker. Yeah. I'm going to.
I don't know the weather conditions like we talked about the Bears and Packers. Chicago is Windy City. You know, that's just it's not really close to Pittsburgh,
Different, yeah.
But it's going to be cold. I can guarantee you that. And
I don't think it matters. Most of the defense played in the cold, right? Danielle Hunter, stud, right? He's got like 110 career sacks. He's been a monster for Houston. Played in Minnesota, right? Will Anderson, Alabama. CJ Stroud, Ohio State. So you have all the core players. They've played in cold places. I think it's not your grandpa's Texans, right? I think the Texans are going to be okay. The Texans might wax the Steelers. It might be close. I have a feeling it's close only because it's, primetime Monday night. Houston historically sucks there. But I honestly, like Houston, if I'm not mistaken, it was ESPN that put out the rankings. My uncle was talking about this earlier today. Houston had, I think it was the 13th overall ranked offense in the league this year. All the hate that we've given them, all the piss poor games, I'm pretty sure they came in 13th overall in the country for offense. So Houston's the better put together team. This is a team that they are making a run. We are amidst one of the first serious Houston runs since the Matt Schaub era, and everybody should revel in the enjoyment of this because Houston's got a squad there coming to play. So the Texans over the Steelers here, and Dustin actually agrees with that assessment. He has also taken the Texans.
Okay, and look, and you mentioned about the Monday night run. The Pittsburgh Steelers have a serious Monday night run that they just don't lose on Monday night when they play on Monday night. So if the Steelers win this game, and let's just say Aaron Rodgers and Metcalf, and they just go on this incredible run, I mean, you'd say watch out for Pittsburgh because no one would have saw that coming, first of all. Yes. And then if Jacksonville beats Buffalo, I mean, you never know what could happen. Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys that have won a Super Bowl. The advantage that the Pittsburgh Steelers would have, or Rodgers would have, is he's an experienced quarterback that has seen a lot of different defenses. And so that's an advantage. And I usually tend to pick the Super Bowl quarterbacks that have been there before, but it's been a while for Rodgers. But I've seen this Texans defense, man. They are, D'Amico Ryan's going to have these guys hyped up. So that's the Monday night game. Everybody in America is going to be watching this game Monday night. I love to see Pittsburgh. Look, Pittsburgh wins that game now. Woo. Now, come divisional weekend, and we're going to have Brian DeArdo from CBS on. I got my buddy with me. We're going to be talking some trash.
Oh, well deserved. If the Steelers beat the Texans, we go into the Brian DeArdo show with the Steelers still alive, I'll join y'all in talking trash.
I'm just saying, man, because I where my heart is, but I just can't, but I just don't, I just know that this Texas defense is just crazy dangerous. So that's going to wrap it up, man, for our picks here. Look, we have enjoyed some incredible success, and it's all because people are subscribing to the show. They're liking, they're commenting, they're sharing. I think last month here, over 50,000 plus, have watched the show, our shorts that we put together. We're getting a ton of comments and sharing. It's just really remarkable. And believe it or not, I think we might hit 2,000 subscribers here tonight or over the weekend. We started with 101 subscribers. So that just goes to show that people like the content. They like, what we do. We've had guests on the show. We've had former NFL players on the show and sports writers on the show from CBS and folks from ESPN local here in Houston. So we just got to keep it up, man. And that's, Jacob, Dustin, you guys, we put a lot into this, and that's the playoffs. So we're going to take you all the way to Super Bowl 60. And it's going to be a fun ride, but we appreciate all of the support that we've been getting, and continue to tell people to watch this football show. We also do the NBA. Well, me and Dustin, we do an NBA show, and the NBA fans are jumping in also. So we just enjoying it.
Uncle G, come back and watch more shows with us, man. It's been fun going back and forth with you all game.
Yeah, and indeed. Thank you, Uncle G and Bobby. And where was Rachel at, man? We always have Rachel. We don't have a lot of females that come into the comment section, but Rachel's been bold enough to get in here with the boys and
she represents the higher female population of our viewers. Yeah. I think she's one of the eyes. I think she's watching. She's not feeling real well tonight. She had kind of a rough go at it today. So, yeah, no, and thank you to everybody who watches, everybody who's liked and subscribed. Just like Gene said, we couldn't do what we do without y'all doing what y'all do, and it's been awesome growing as a team this year with the StreamYard show and what have you. Like growing the amount of viewers we have on YouTube is awesome. It's been the coolest thing. Oh yeah, like it's a whole nother element to this. So thank everybody for everything that
we got to thank Joe. We got to thank Joe who watches us. Joe puts us on that big ass 65-inch TV, man. Hey, we're gonna have to start putting on makeup and stuff, man, because I don't know what we look like on a 65-inch TV. I just, we got a small screen here in front of us, so it's pretty cool. All right, let's go watch what's left of this game here. Who knows? Oregon might make the biggest comeback in college football history. You never know.
Sure.
But if not, then the game was over when it started, right, with the pick six. So
absolutely. And for everybody watching that cares, I'm taking Indiana over Miami in the Natty. This Kurt Cignetti run is historic, and they will not be beat. It is one of those things you can feel it in the air, like Ohio State last year.
I'm not ready to go there yet.
I am.
I can't go there yet because Miami is playing at home. Now, I mean, this is kind of weird. The National College Football Championship is going to be played in Miami, so I don't know, man.
It's going to be tight. Indiana's good.
All right. I think we're gonna get on out of here. Jacob, I think we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. So let's go ahead and get on out of here. Enjoy your wild card weekend. We see you back here next week for the divisional rounds on the Sports Kings NFL Weekend Wild Card Show. Have a good one.
See you next week.